Guys, sorry, I'm gonna say it again. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry about the technical difficulties, and then also sorry for starting late because Maghrib's now is at 7 o'clock, so that's why we had moved it forward to 7:20. So that's why we're starting a bit later. And I know you guys all thinking right now, what happened to the tall, good-looking Arab guy before? Well, we had a change in, never mind, it's right there, but we had a change in management, and inshallah, now we're moving to the Asian department. Just to give a brief introduction of our speaker, he was here last week. He gave a speech, a very, very beautiful speech about love, and he gave a workshop on a Saturday. So for those who attend the workshop and was here last week, you all know that Omar KHAN is a very, very eloquent speaker. He has very vast amount of knowledge. He has studied over many different shuyukhs like Yasir Qadi, Walid Basyuni, Sheikh Abu Isa, for those who knows all these big names. And inshallah, if Omar is ready, without further ado, I'll just give him the mic.
السلام عليكم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Verily all praise is due to Allah Azza wa Jal. We praise Him and worship Him. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our souls and from our sinful actions. I bear witness that whomsoever Allah guides, nobody can misguide. I bear witness that whomsoever Allah guides, nobody, no group of people, no committee, no scholarship can misguide. And whomsoever Allah leaves to go astray, there is nobody on earth that can guide such a person aright. I bear witness that there is nothing and no one worthy of worship except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is one and eternal. And I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was the last and final messenger and was the seal of the prophets and was sent as a mercy to mankind, all of mankind. And what follows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, O you who believe, fear Allah the fear that is deserving of Him, and do not die except in the state of surrender, which is the state of Islam. Dear brothers and sisters, today inshallah, I was asked to give a topic for this halaqah here, and the topic that I was told to give it on was the topic of da'wah. So the first question I have for all of you here is, who attended Noor's Dawah workshop that happened a couple days ago? Just by show of hands. Okay, mashallah, perfect. I'm going to pick on you guys then. Perfect, alhamdulillah. And we know that Brother Noor has a second workshop tomorrow from 12 o'clock. It's going to be for about 5 hours. What this is, this training that I'm giving you, it's basically like a push start, inshallah, to get everybody at a basic level, so that you can go tomorrow to the workshop and really, inshallah, advance as a da'i, for those that are interested of going to that level. For the people that are not interested, what I'm going to tell you, inshallah, is going to be the basic stuff you need to know about da'wah for your life. So what I need for everyone here, inshallah, a pen and a paper or a phone or whatnot, take notes, inshallah, because there's going to be a lot mentioned in this brief workshop. I'm going to give a very fast-paced one. We're going to finish at 9, inshallah, khair. So I'll give you guys a minute to get your stuff ready, and inshallah, we're going to roll through it. Okay, bismillah. So the first thing that we need to know, the first question that needs to be answered amongst the couple questions I'm going to discuss today is why da'wah? Why are we talking about da'wah? Why is da'wah so important? Isn't it something that I can just leave for the scholars to do or the more practicing people to do? Why do you and I have to give da'wah? And the answer to this is very simple, because it's a responsibility on every single Muslim to pass on the message of Islam. After the Prophet ﷺ passed away, he left the message on us. He left the responsibility on us. So if you today are the ones that call yourselves Muslims, it's your job to pass on the message. And now let me ask you a very important question. It's very straightforward. If we don't decide to give da'wah, us people in this room, if we're like, let's save it for someone else, who is going to give da'wah? If we are the ones attending halaqas, if we are the ones learning about the religion, if we are the ones practicing about religion, but we're too shy because we don't have that much knowledge, we're too shy because we don't want to look bad in front of our friends, we're too shy to give da'wah, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? The imam at the mosque or the uncle at the mosque that can't even speak English? Like, who's going to do it? How is he going to tell them Islam good? Like, it's not going to work. And so we know, Islamically speaking, that it's our responsibility. We are the youth, we are the future of a community, and we are the people that are active. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ, he said in a hadith authentic, he said, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. And another narration of the same hadith, حَدِّثُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Right? He said, speak or tell them, say about Islam, say about this religion, even if it is one ayah, even if it is one verse. Now everyone in this room knows at least one verse. Right? So what does that mean? That doesn't mean make up the other verses of the Quran and start telling people, oh, well, there's a verse on that too. Yeah, I'm sure there's a verse on that. That's not what we're talking about. It means if you have some knowledge, it's your job to spread that knowledge to the people. So if you know that God is one, you go and you teach the people God is one. You convince them God is one. If you know now there's some, there's this hole and that hole with Christianity, alhamdulillah, even better. You go and you teach that. But it's whatever you know, you teach. That's what we're supposed to do. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he taught this message when he told us that the believers are those in a hadith and it's in the Quran who enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil. The believers are those who enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil. So inshallah, da'wah is something that is good and it is something that we enjoin upon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He says, who is better? He says, who is better? Right? وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِمَّنْ قَوْلًا. Sorry? Jazakallah khair. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا. Except for who? The one that calls to Allah. Who is better in speech except for the person that calls to Allah? This is the best person you can have. This is the best speech you can be giving, is to be speaking for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the basis of da'wah is. What is the ruling on da'wah? Da'wah is considered to be fard muqayyid. What that means is it's considered to be like an untailored fard, meaning you can give da'wah in any way you want. There's not like a one way to do it. We have one way of praying. You gotta pray this way. I can't put my hands backwards if I want to pray. I can't start doing backflips or juggling during salah. It's not something you're allowed to do. But da'wah is something that you can do in any way you want. In any way you want, as long as it's based on the Quran and Sunnah. As long as there's some backing, it doesn't contradict the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, so for example, we won't have some huge dance party club where we're like, convert to Islam if you enter. Okay? So besides something like that, you can do different things. You can do videos on Islam, YouTube, spoken word, poetry, articles, all these types of ways. You can give out pamphlets. You can come up with any idea you want to give da'wah, but understand that you're responsible to give da'wah in one way or another. Next, who do we give da'wah to? And this is really, really important. The Prophet ﷺ, he taught us that every person must give da'wah to who? To the community, to mankind. And this is what the Prophet's message was. So some people today, they only give da'wah to, for example, the non-Muslims. But our responsibility is, even if we know a brother or a sister that's Muslim, we turn to them, inshallah, and we teach the Islam to them. So da'wah is for both Muslims and non-Muslims. Now, even within da'wah to non-Muslims, what we learn about this is the Prophet ﷺ gave da'wah to every level of people that were in the non-Muslims. A lot of times you have these hotshot da'is that they'll go and they'll give da'wah to an entire class, but they'll forget about the teacher. Or they'll give a da'wah to an entire auditorium or an entire conference, but they'll forget about the janitor or the security guard. And you'll see that this is one of the mistakes in a da'i, that if your message is for all of the people, why do you forget about somebody like that? Why do you forget about someone else? Sometimes we discriminate in da'wah in that we only give it to certain people, but other people we don't give. When we know the Prophet ﷺ, even the most poor of the poor he would give da'wah to. The oldest of the old he'd give da'wah to. Why? Because this is the truth. And what you have in your hands, what you have in your heart is the truth. And if you have it, do you not feel that it's important to show someone else it? And this is what it comes down to in da'wah, right? Now, the other point that I'll give you is da'wah is done to save yourselves, not others. I'll say this again. Da'wah is done to save yourselves, not others. Why? The more you give da'wah to other people, you are taking care of your responsibility. You're doing what you're told to do. You're doing what you were put here on this earth to do. And by doing that, Allah will bless you. It is said about the person that gives da'wah that the angels make dua and praise the person that is speaking on behalf of people coming to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now I would want you to imagine, when you're talking to somebody giving da'wah, if you can imagine, if you can picture literally malaika all around you, praying for you. Do Do you really think you'd be like, oh, I don't know much, go talk to someone else? You'd be like, no, bro, stay with me, don't leave now. I got these angels with me, stay with me. Let's go to a mosque, we'll find the answer. Google it up, whatever it takes. I don't want you to leave because I don't want to lose this feeling. I don't want to lose these angels around me. And this is what, subhanAllah, the reward is. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if you convert one person to Islam, if you're able to guide one person to Islam, if Allah blesses you with that, he says it is better than the world and everything inside it. The world and everything in it. And furthermore, any good deed that person does, any khair that person does, you get rewarded for it. So imagine later on, way past, when you're an old uncle or grandfather, right, or a grandmother, that you're still getting rewards for someone else praying. MashaAllah, that's beautiful. And not only are you getting rewards for them praying, but you're getting rewards for their spouse praying, and their children praying, and their grandchildren praying. This is what da'wah gives us. And this is why da'wah is one of the most exciting fields in Islam. All the fields in Islam are important. But you see why da'wah gets such an excitement. Imagine that you can have an opportunity to touch someone else's life. And that brings us very importantly to the second topic of today's discussion. What is da'wah? What is da'wah? Now da'wah from the Arabic, if you break it down, it's an invitation. And I want people to consider this, that people today when they say go give da'wah to someone, right? When you give an invitation to someone, say Brother Adil's over here and I want him really, really badly to come over to my house. Why? Because I have the best butter chicken, let's say, in all of West Island. Let's just say it's there. So I really want him to come and benefit from my butter chicken because I'm nice, because I have a lot of it. I have excess butter chicken, okay? It can be a problem. Too much butter chicken could be a problem. Alright, so how do I invite him? Do I walk up to Adil and be like, go, come to my house. Why aren't you coming? Don't you know my butter chicken is the best? Are you saying it's not the best? Hold on, let's talk about this. Oh, no, but this scholar, he said it's the best. And that person, and if you study scientifically, historically, butter chicken in my house is the best. Now come. Adil will be like, whatever you say, you weirdo, and never see me again. And this is what most of the da'is today do. They'll walk up to a guy and be like, Islam is the best. Okay? No, it is the best. Okay, that's your opinion. No, it is the opinion. And the guy's like, okay, it's the opinion. And they'll be like, so you accept it? It's like, no, I don't accept it. Why don't you accept it? You're going to hell. And then these conversations happen where a person is just totally scared out of their mind. And a person now comes after and you talk to him, you're like, bro, what's wrong with you? He's like, Akhi, I was giving da'wah. And he walks off like he's the best person in the world. What is he really doing? He's doing nothing. Da'wah means invitation. This is one of the definitions of it. An invitation, an invite. So when you invite someone, inshallah, you present it properly to them. And the more honored the person is that you're inviting, and honored not by their position, by your care to them, the more you love someone. If now you're inviting, a sister, for example, to bring her family over, or you go to someone's father and you're trying to get him to bring the family over to meet your house for marriage, you're not going to walk up to him and be like, look, your daughter must marry me. It must happen. Like, it's the only logical explanation for how things happen in the world. It won't ever work. What you do is you'll speak to them very nicely. It would be a great honor. You'd be doing me a favor. I would really love to sit down and talk with you. It would be amazing if you wouldn't mind coming. You'd smile, you'd dress with nice clothes, you'd give him a gift, you'd make sure he's as calm as possible. If it was a bad day, you'd be like, okay, it's a bad day. You know what? We won't go too far into it. Let's just talk about the surface. Maybe in the future I'll come back and we can talk about this. And da'is have to be smart like that. We can't just be so aggressive. The problem today, brothers and sisters, is when we hear the word da'wah, number one, we think of only non-Muslims. And obviously today we're focusing on that. Number two, Muslims naturally think of da'wah as a da'wah table. Where there's a table and there's some three guys that have nothing better to do in life and they're just sitting there all day and you don't know how they're passing classes and they're just there waiting for somebody to walk into that zone because they can't get everyone. So it's that zone. So it's like they're just waiting. Uh-oh, someone's getting close to the zone. The sensors start picking up the radars. Guys are shaking, There's this one kid that's like, let me get him. Not yet. Hold back Ibrahim. He's like, let me go, right? And this is da'wah. And then when the person enters the zone, the alarm goes off. The guy's like, oh no, I entered the zone. And bam, he's stuck in da'wah. And so we look at this and we see that this is what da'wah is. Now, the reality, brothers and sisters, is da'wah has a rule of precedence. It has an order of ops, you could say. So when someone begins da'wah, where do you guys think da'wah should start? The first place da'wah should start. Who has an answer for this? Yes? Yourself. Right? The one that doesn't have something can't give it. If you're a horrible person, how are you going to bring him to Islam and say Islam is great? Right? If you beat your wife, you don't take showers every day, you're like, trust me, Islam is the best. They'll be like, it doesn't smell right, if you know what I mean. And the guy will walk away. So you have to ask yourself the question is, am I giving da'wah to myself even? Did I even pray my salah today? Do I even care about Allah? And inshallah the answer is yes, because whatever you have you can give. Number two, what comes after giving da'wah to yourself? What would be the next category? Yes, sister. Very good, mashallah. Those closest to you, and the first priority is family. So a brother, mashallah, he's praying and he's giving khutbahs and he's getting everyone to pray, and his brothers and sisters and his parents, they don't pray, they don't care about Allah. Now, I'm not saying that this has to be a prerequisite, because we know that situations are tough. Our parents come with some culture, not all of them are into the religion. Doesn't mean don't give da'wah, but it means to understand the priority. The priority is the best place you can be is home. Charity begins at home, right? So the best place to give da'wah, obviously, after talking to yourself, is to go to your parents. Give them good company, give them good time, your family. And again, you can see that how this is going away from the whole non-Muslim aspect. And we're starting to learn that da'wah is something that is for Muslims too. So then number three, after your family, you're working on that, you're working on yourself. These are two things you're taking care of. What is the next priority for da'wah? Yes. MashaAllah, Muslims. I would say Muslims would be the next one. Perfect. So the Muslim community, you have a brother and a sister that, for example, they're going out and they're dating and they're close friends of yours. Have you advised them? Do you try in a nice and calm way? Remember, invitation to what is better. I'm inviting you to something that's better. Get married. I'm inviting you to something that's better. Stop drinking. In a very nice and proper way. Right? Doesn't mean you stand at a club and you be like, bro, stop that. I'm telling you, don't go here. Right? We have to be very practical in our approaches today. So yes, Muslims. Now what's the next category? Yes. Very key. The brother says non-Muslims. I'm even going to split it further. Before you can stand up at a table and give non-Muslims to some strangers, who should you be giving da'wah to first in terms of non-Muslims? Anybody got this? MashaAllah, very good. Those closest to you. Those closest to you. And this is a huge mistake, brothers and sisters, that today we have our close friends that we grew up since high school. We chilled with them. We grew up with them. They know us inside and out. And some of them we've never even once invited to Islam. Yet we think now, let's go and just start telling strangers about Islam, and that's what da'wah is. That's why you come to these workshops. And unfortunately, because of the whole big thing of IAD and IAW, everyone hears that. Oh, you're a Muslim, give da'wah. And it's like, yeah, but I don't even give da'wah to my families, to my friends, to this. It's like, it doesn't matter. You're good enough. Get in there. Right? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go and help them, inshallah, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Show up, inshallah. Do your part. But don't mistaken that for ideal da'wah. This is not ideal. Everyone understands that? And so like I said, I'm coming and I'm giving a different twist. So Noor can inshallah bring it all together when he gives his workshop tomorrow. But my understanding of da'wah is very different because it comes from more of a traditional understanding. That if you love somebody, wouldn't you tell that person before this stranger and then tell this stranger, bro, I love you, that's why I'm talking to you about Islam? Does it not feel a bit hypocritical? Where you're telling the stranger about Islam and about Salah, but you yourself, you have friends that their whole life they went with you, but you never told them about it. And so understand, brothers and sisters, real da'wah is that you guys make a list of your closest friends. Right now. Right now. You make a list of these closest friends that are non-Muslim. And you say, you know what? I'm going to start talking to them about Islam. It doesn't mean you run in and go get a da'wah table on him, come to this table tomorrow, then you just bombard him and he never talks to you again. You do it with wisdom. You do it with wisdom. So you know that you might not want to come totally upfront with them right away. You do it slowly. You give them a couple words. You give them a couple explanations. Something comes up. You tell them why I don't do this, why I do that. What the wisdom behind it is. But you touch out to the people closest to you because they're the ones that you care about. And they're the first people you want to protect from the fire. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in one hadith, he said, and this, brothers and sisters, is really what hits me the most. He said in one hadith that it is as if the people are running towards the fire. Are like running. Imagine people are running past you, running and sprinting. And behind you is a pit of fire. And they're literally running and jumping in. And he said, and it's as if I'm the only one standing here to stop them. And so I'm begging them, please stop. Please change. Please come back to the truth. And they're running and running and running. And subhanAllah, this is what we have to start looking at da'wah. Not to say that everyone's going to die right away and go to hell. But the reality of it is, people that are continuing their lives down their way that it's going, they're not going to find happiness. They're not going to find peace. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, if they don't repent and change, they're going to find the fire. This is the reality. It's a scary reality when you think of your friends. Think of your friends. Don't think of the random stranger on the street first. First, think of your friends. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ wanted to teach us as Islam. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us that Islam and da'wah, it starts from the inside. Because the Prophet ﷺ was attacked and hated by people that were not Muslim. But he never once said to the masses, of course there are specific exceptions, go to hell. Fine, get out of this religion. Every single person, even the ones that attacked him, he gave da'wah to. Right? And this is what I want everyone to understand today, is why did the Prophet ﷺ do this? Why did the Prophet ﷺ go and give da'wah to these people that hated him? When I would tell you today, if some guy comes up to you and says, I hate you, I hate your religion, you'd be like, okay, have a nice day. Next person. Come in. Honestly, that's what we would do. But the Prophet ﷺ was different. He had an understanding that today we miss out. And I want us to get this, inshallah, as the message for today. We know the story. The Prophet ﷺ had a neighbor. And his neighbor, what she used to do is she would throw garbage on him every day. Sallallahu. You imagine this in your own context. Imagine someone, you get on the bus every day and they throw a water balloon at you. They throw garbage at you. Number one, you would beat them up, right? This is an older lady. The Prophet could take her, trust me. Okay? But he didn't do that. He's teaching us. And so every day he would go out and she would throw things at him and throw it on him. And subhanAllah, one day she stopped. One day she stopped. Now if it was you and I, and the day the neighbor forgets to do this to you, the day the bully doesn't show up to school, you're so happy. You don't ask questions. Alhamdulillah, ya Allah, thank you, I'm free today. I can smell nice for once. Maybe I'll get that girl today. Like, your whole life is, mashallah, turned around. The Prophet ﷺ, he became worried for her. He became worried for her. And so he ﷺ went and knocked at her door because he thought something was wrong. Because she never misses her appointment. And so he opened and talked to her, and he found that she was sick. She was very sick. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, I came to see how you were if you needed anything. And if you needed anything. The lady was so shocked. She said, my son, he lives like right down the street. He has not visited me. And you visited me. You the one I throw garbage at. You the one I curse. You the one I backbite. You the one I hate you. Yet you came today to see how I was doing. And she said, Ashhadu annaka Rasulullah. She believes in Allah. She believes in you as the Prophet ﷺ. This is da'wah. Today, people, what we do today, dear brothers and sisters, is we give da'wah and we smile. We smile at the people. We give them a good, impression of Islam. But we do it for the sake of da'wah. We do it because it's good da'wah. The Prophet ﷺ didn't go and visit her because it was good da'wah. No. The Prophet ﷺ visited her because he loved her. And he wanted what's best for her. Dear brothers and sisters, today when you open a door for an old lady or for a person, you think in your mind, this is for da'wah. And she walks by, and if subhanAllah, if after she doesn't convert to Islam, you're like, I shouldn't have opened the door for her, it's a waste of my time. Where's the next person? Maybe this guy I'll get, maybe he'll understand what I'm doing. Right? This is what our mentality is. It's really sad. That when you see somebody walking there, you're like, I'm going to tell him about Islam. I'm going to tell them because I have to do da'wah to him. The Prophet ﷺ did not do it for that reason. He would not hold the door for a lady or a luggage of a lady in order to give her da'wah. He would do it because it was good. It was love. And he loved the people. And this is why even they tried to kill him, he still loved them. Because that's what he was sent to be. A messenger of mercy. A messenger of love. A messenger of peace. So dear brothers and sisters, if you're going to give da'wah, understand that you need to look at that person that you're talking to and care about them. That's the first thing. If you cannot do that, no matter how great your words are, no matter what debate technique I can teach you, you will never be a good da'i. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, He teaches us how to do da'wah. And He says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." And this is in Surah Nahl, towards the end of the surah, the last page. And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, call. He orders the people, ud'u, ud'u. It's an order. You go and call. Call upon the way, ila sabili rabbik, the path of your Lord. Bil hikmah, with wisdom. And this is what I talked about earlier, with wisdom. You don't go there yelling, you don't go there to fight, you don't go there for this reason. You go there understanding what you're doing. When someone yells at you, you know how to talk to them. وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ, and in the best of ways, in a good way. You present yourself properly. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. And when you debate them, when you fight with them, even when they get into an argument, do it in a way that is better. How many times, brothers and sisters, when someone argues with us, we get angry and we start going harder on them. They say, you look ugly. You're like, your mother looks ugly. Like, it's like the mother line. And subhanAllah, you cross the line when you go there, right? So, subhanAllah, you can imagine that this is what we have today as da'wah. Is that, someone insulted me. Oh, I won that debate. I won that da'wah conversation. How? Oh, I insulted his mom so bad. And subhanAllah, we think we've won something. Like, we're waiting for the prize. We're like, Allah's going to be so happy with me. Oh my God. Like, subhanAllah, this is not what it's about. And subhanAllah, one of the beautiful things we learn about this verse is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering us to give da'wah, He says, ud'u, ud'u. And he does not say ud'u. And ud'u would mean all of you give da'wah. All of you give da'wah in such and such way. But the Prophet ﷺ used the singular term. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the singular term. Ud'u. One person. Speaking to one person. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking to? In this verse. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking to? Because He's speaking to one person. Hands? Yes, sister. Yes, you inshallah. No, it's not us. It's one person He's speaking to subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sorry? Oh, someone got it right, alhamdulillah. The Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ. And so what does this teach us? Why am I breaking this ayah up and telling you this? Because when we give da'wah, we don't do it based on what our hikmah is, and our wisdom is, and our way is. Because our way of da'wah could be horrible. Our way of da'wah could be, I tie him up, throw him in my car. If he doesn't convert after 20 minutes, khalas, it's over for him. That could be my way of da'wah. And I could read this verse and say, subhanAllah, Allah said, do it in a way that's better. It's better I tie him up than I kill him. You know that's better. No. We do it in the way that the Prophet ﷺ did it. Because the Prophet ﷺ is told to do it that way, and we're told to follow his way. So when you give da'wah, you do it in the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught us to. You love the person. You care about the person. And now logically speaking, if someone comes up to you and you care about them, random guy comes up to you, you care about them. Would you ask him first what his religion is or what his name is? Name, because you care about it. Alright? Would you try and find out a bit about the person first, or would you go right away and start attacking him? And again, it goes on and like that. But again, it's a mentality switch. That when you give da'wah, when you actually speak to people, you speak to your friends. Friends are the best example. You would never walk up to your close friend and be like, bro, why aren't you Muslim yet? You know, what is your opinion of Islam? Let's talk about this for a bit. Because you know that would be aggressive. You know that would pull him away. For the most part, for most of your friends. So you'll do it smarter. So if that's your close friend, imagine some stranger on the street you start running after. You have to be smart when you give da'wah to people. You treat them properly. You treat them like you would treat a friend. And so of course, when you show up inshallah on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc., if you show up and you don't even get the guy's name, the girl's name you talk to, you're like, oh, I had an amazing conversation. What was her name? I don't know. I don't care. Right away understand that you don't know da'wah. You don't know what you're doing. That subhanAllah, the best da'is are the da'is that can one day leave. When that person leaves, whether they accept Islam or not, when that person leaves, they leave thinking, subhanAllah, well, not subhanAllah because they're not Muslim, but they leave thinking, that person I met was a really good person, was really nice. I would love if that person were to email me. I would love if that person were to call me. That's what I would like to be. I would want to be that person's friend. And subhanAllah, if you can do that as da'is, if you can do that, you can throw all these tips and tricks away. You can throw all these techniques away because you have what you need, which is being able to create a bond with someone. And some people are better than others at this. So don't be fake. Be yourselves. Honestly, be yourselves. When you go there, understand that you live in this life and you want to share it with someone else. You want to make new friends. You want to show people this truth, this light of Islam. And if you can do that, you will be an amazing da'i, an amazing da'iyah. Allahu alam. So now someone comes to you and they speak to you about Islam. Alright, the first and foremost thing that you guys need to understand about this whole concept of shahada, this concept of converting somebody. Number one to understand is, you and I cannot convert anybody. If this is why you came here today, if this is why you're coming to the IAD next week, or the IW, if this is why you're coming to Noor's workshop tomorrow, if it's to learn how to convert someone, you're wrong. You cannot convert anybody. Only Allah Azza wa Jal can convert. Understand that. Only Allah can open someone's heart. How do we know this? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He says, إِنَّكَ You cannot guide. لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتِ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. He says to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can't even guide who you love or who you want. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is much better of a da'i than me or you. But he couldn't even guide his uncle. Allah did not let him do that. Because it's not in his hands. It's not in his hands, but it's in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. And converting people is not something that we do. Our job, our mission as Muslims is to spread the message. If you have spread the message, you're successful. Whether they convert or not. Everyone understands this. And this is the only requirement. So don't go there, inshallah, and give da'wah thinking, I need to convert someone today. No. You need to send them a basic message. You need to be a good example for them. You need to get basic information for them so we can follow up. So that the brothers that are good at debating and stuff, they can go and debate. Alhamdulillah, let them, or debate or discuss. But you just take the basic information. You leave the good example, you give them the basic message. This way, no matter what happens, you know that at least you tried. And wallahi, understand that da'wah is like planting a seed. It's like planting a seed. A seed does not always grow right away. In fact, the vast majority of seeds take long time to convert. And the reality is, most people do not convert on the spot. Most people do not convert on the spot. This is a big misconception. There are a few examples in history of people that just converted like that. Anyone know one? Someone that just converted right away. Yes, Akhi. Abu Bakr. The Prophet ﷺ says, I'm a prophet. He says, you're a prophet. He walks away like, alhamdulillah, it's done. Done deal. MashaAllah. Another one is Khadija. The Prophet ﷺ is worried. He says, nobody will accept me as a prophet. He says, I have already accepted you as a prophet. Let's go. Now you have a follower. Who's next? You know, who are other people? The magicians at the time of Fir'aun. Alright, these magicians are literally, spitting magic back and forth. Musa comes and destroys all their magic. They're just like, this is no magic. This is a God speaking. And they all make sajda right away. And the Fir'aun's like, what the heck? 1 minute they're like, go snake. And next minute they're like praying to God. He literally turns and he says, in all the verses you look, Fir'aun is like, what are you doing? He literally doesn't even know what to tell them. He's like, why are you prostrate? I didn't tell you to do that. Who are you prostrating to? He's so confused because literally 1 second they're on his side, the next second they're bowing to someone. And this is what happens to very few people. Very few people in life do that, especially nowadays, when people want to think and, really interact and people have their biases and stuff. Very few people will come to Islam directly. So what does that mean? Da'wah should be long-term. Put that in your head. If you were trying to do this thing, we hear this thing, one of my teachers, Sheikh Kamal al-Makki, he had something called How to Give Shahada in 10 minutes. If that's what you're trying to learn from myself, from Brother Noor, from coming to IEWs, know that that's not the real success of Islam. That's not real success of Da'wah. It takes long. So what you do, you come, you plant a seed, you follow up. That's why I told you to target your friends. Because your friends, you're going to be dealing with them, inshallah, for a long time. So start moving them towards Islam. Everyone's good with this, inshallah? Okay, very good. So now, as I told you, inshallah, besides knowing the basics of what you're doing, you now have to be able to tell them the message. I said your job is to tell them the message. You're like, okay, Omar, what's the message? What is this message? What's the magic? Very straightforward. In da'wah, and this is something that for those, again, that want to come tomorrow, inshallah, you're going to learn this in depth, inside and out, how to do it, how to pitch it, how to say it, how to respond to it. I'm just giving you the basic gist of it, so that if you're there on the Concordia IAW on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that you can be there and someone can come to you and you can speak to them. You won't just be like, I don't know what Islam means. It's like, wow, subhanAllah, okay, we really got to work on this. So what do? I'm going to teach you 3 different techniques, inshallah, and I want everyone to take notes on these 3 different techniques of how to pitch someone Islam. How to pitch someone Islam. So the first thing that everybody needs to take down, and this is for all principles, this is the first step of da'wah, that when someone comes to you, and they come to you at an IAW, hello, what's your name? My name is Bob. Bob, my name is Omar. How are you today? Omar, I had a question about Islam. Right away, bam. This is one of the most common scenarios that's going to come up. Someone's going to come to you and say, I have a question. Right? Or your friend who was a little bit shy is like, oh, talk to that guy. And you're like, oh dear, what happened now? So the person comes up to you and says, I have a question. You're like, all right, let's do it. So they say, why do women wear hijab? And you're like, okay, this is it. I can do this. And you start ripping them and going back and forth and this and this and that. That's not the right approach. Someone comes to you and they say, why can't you have 4 wives, but she can't have 4 husbands? And you're like, oh, I never said I wanted 4 wives, sisters. And you start freaking out and, subhanAllah. And we start losing ourselves. And even if you know these answers, that's not what I'm here to tell you. I'm not here to give you these answers. Inshallah, later on in Noor's workshop is where you can cover these things in depth. So because we should know as Muslims. We should know as Muslims. What do? Whatever question they shoot at you, your answer is standard. That's a great question. Thank you very much. What did you say your name was? Bob. My name's Omar. That's a great question, But to understand this question, to understand the answer, you must first understand what Islam is. You guys, I already know what Islam is. Okay, perfect. You already know what Islam is. But let me just tell you exactly what Islam is. Because maybe you've read it in books, or maybe you've seen it on the media. But I am an actual Muslim, and I will tell you exactly what Islam is. You have 5 minutes. And if there's chairs, say, look, let's grab a seat. If some juice, get them some juice. Make some coffee for him, whatever it is. You can't make coffee, don't make coffee for him, okay? So, you want to make a real conversation with this person, not some pitch like a telemarketer. We're like, sir, well, that's a very good question you have. Can I call you Bob? Yes. Well, if you pay $9.95 and 3 payments of that installments, what we can give you is basically an answer to your question. And we don't do that in Islam. What we want to do is bring everyone together. So you tell them in a real way, come, let's sit down and talk. And this is what you give basically, what some people call the $1 million speech, the golden speech, whatever it is. You give, everybody needs to be able to give a basic explanation of what is Islam. So if I ask you right now, and I'm not going to put anyone on the spot here, what is Islam? You know, if I ask you that question, what is your answer going to be? What will you explain? So I want everyone to know right away, and this is, like I said, the most important thing. Someone comes with a question, that's a great question. To understand this, you must understand Islam. And it makes logical sense. We can't just start talking about random topics, because at the end of the day, say you would convince him, SubhanAllah, you're right, every man should have 4 wives. You're like, great, so you're a Muslim. He's like, no, I'm just a freak. And he walks off. And it's like, that guy's going to marrying 4 wives now, and like, look what you did. Like, you put that guy on the earth. Right? That's not what you want to do. You want to basically build them up properly. So inshallah, I'm going to teach you again 3 different techniques. So technique number 1. Alright, inshallah, I'm going to write on this area of the board here. Bidnillahi ta'ala. I already have prerequisites for my writing. It's not good. Technique number 1 is called TNA. TNA, very easy to remember, easier if you write down. Okay? The Japanese, they have a proverb. It's called, short pencil is better than long memory. Okay, so inshallah, write down, inshallah, what you guys can, so you get it. TNA is what you pitch them now. What is TNA? T stands for Tawheed, the oneness of God, the oneness of Allah. If you're talking to them and you're telling them how great Muslims are and how zakah saves the environment and how, subhanAllah, Muslims love animals, they don't even know you're believing in one God. You're not going to help them. Right? They don't know, they don't understand this one concept of God. The concept that all the prophets came to give. All the prophets came with this message. Point number 2, Nubuwah, prophets. So a lot of times people come, they don't even know that Jesus is a prophet for us. They don't know we believe in Musa. They believe that Islam is just Hinduism or Buddhism, just a different name for it. We're just the more aggressive ones. That's honestly what people think of Islam. So, Nubuwah is the next point, basically. And again, my writing, whatever, there's a lot of different ways of spelling it. Nubuwah, which is the prophethood. So you explain to them, very straightforwardly, Tawheed, there is only one God. That's what Islam teaches. That's what it preaches. That we have one God, like other religions. This God creates everything. He controls everything. He is all wise. He is all powerful. This is Allah. So this is who Allah is for the Muslims. So you give them a basic explanation. They're like, yeah, that sounds good. Right? That sounds good. And one of the tips we always teach people to say is, when you tell them this, you can say, look, let me tell you what we believe in. We believe that there's one God. Does that make sense? That there's not 5 gods or 10 gods? The guy's like, yeah. 10 gods would be horrible, Because think about it, gods would fight with each other. Which God is bigger? Which God is stronger? The person's like, yeah, there should only be one. Any company, how many presidents are there? 1. How many principals of the school? 1. So similarly, if the world was being controlled, should it be controlled by many people or 1? 1. That's God. Next point. And so it's like, do you agree that makes sense? And this is something Sheikh Kamal says, is when you finish a point with someone, you feel they're on the same page as you, get them to confirm it. Because confirming it is the first step of them accepting it. So you say, does that make sense to you? Instead of saying, do you agree with this? Because the guy will be like, whoa, I didn't say I agree. I said it makes sense. Right? So you tell them, what's the question you say? Does this make sense to you? Does this make sense? The guy says, yeah, perfect, let's move on. Nubuwah, prophethood. Now, very straightforwardly, if God has a message, it is not befitting of God or Allah to come and tell to the people. To walk down in some form where we see some bush on fire, we're like, wow, that's God. I will believe, I worship. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, what God does, is He sends messengers. And the messengers' jobs are to teach the message. To teach the message to the people. Everyone's good with this? And so these prophets are not gods themselves, because that would be a disaster. They're just people that are pious, that are religious, that come to teach us the message. And the third point, inshallah, that you're going to mention is Akhirah. Where it's all going to end up, the afterlife. Because at the end of the day, basic da'wah comes down to something. You turn to someone, you say, look, what is the only reality in life? What is the only thing you know for sure? I have an exam in 20 minutes. Do you really know that? Could not the teacher be sick? It's true, very unlikely because they have exam coordinators. Could not the exam be cancelled 5 seconds before? It's true. And then you can go into some other examples I don't recommend, like could the building burn down? And then they look at you, they're like terrorists and they run away. So don't go there, right? But you say that, or you say something that scares them. Couldn't you just drop dead right now? It's like, you're crossing cuts, like, I don't want to talk to you, want me to die. They'll run away. So you don't have to go through those examples. But the general examples is things can happen, agreed. Your bus is supposed to come to take you to the exam. The bus never comes. It never comes. It just decides today it's not coming. It's possible. You might not know, but it's possible. The only reality, the only thing that every person, man, woman, child, everybody understands this. The only reality in life is death. You're all going to die one day. As rich as you are, as much as you don't believe in God, I don't need you to believe in God to believe in death. You know you're going to die. So what happens next? Islam has akhirah. Why? Because this life is a test. Why? Because this life is not fair. And everyone will agree to that. If you tell them, do you believe life is fair? No. Or if the guy says, yeah, life is fair, why did that person, across the border, how come this girl was raped by this man? How come this mass murderer killed 20 people? How come these people are dying in Syria? How is that fair? When me and you are drinking our coffee at Tim Hortons. He's like, good point. Right? So again, you don't have much to go. So everyone will agree, life is not fair. So then what? You just die and it's over? Or do you believe that if there's a God, that there should be some way to rectify everything, to put people accountable, to have justice? Everyone will be like, I'm down with justice. That's the akhirah. We have an afterlife where everybody will be raised in front of God and they'll be basically judged on whether they're good or bad. If you're good, you did righteous deeds, you prayed to God, you didn't kill people, you go to heaven. And if you're bad, you go to hell. Yes, sister, Jazakallah khair. Very good, mashallah. So the sisters bring up a side question, which inshallah is something that is one of the most famous questions. Atheists and agnostics, they use this a lot because they'll be like, I don't believe in God because if God existed, millions of people wouldn't die. That's what they say. They say it's very, very straightforward. Millions of people would not die. Everyone would be good. So I have some of, let's say, the more advanced students in the audience. So I'm going to pick out one of them for this one. Let's see this. Yes, Adil, you put your head down first. Okay, mashallah. What would you say to a person that says that to you? Why do bad things happen? Why does God allow killing if God really does exist?
One of the things I always use is, well, first of all, if you're saying why God exists, why is this happening, you have to automatically believe that there's a concept of hell and fire. You can't just assume out there that don't expect a reward and a punishment after. So regardless if you're going to suffer for 20 minutes, imagine, and get a reward for a year, you would go for it. So about the punishment you suffer for a while. You have a reward of paradise. And imagine in this paradise, this, that. Wouldn't you declare if you get punished for a couple minutes? Even though, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that does not test the slave when he can handle it. Know that this slave can handle this. So he's not being just.
Okay, perfect. So Adil is giving one possible angle to take, and there's many angles where he says basically that if you were to suffer for 20 minutes to have a year of peace, wouldn't you suffer? And so he's saying that basically, if you understand that there is a heaven and a hell, things like this make sense. That God will put people through trials. Why? So that He can purify them. That you get rewarded for every trial you have in our religion. That not even a thorn pricks you, but your sins get forgiven. And so he uses that analogy to say, the people that are suffering will actually be forgiven, and Allah is actually even giving them rewards from this. That's a decent answer, inshallah. Brother Noor, inshallah, can you maybe hit it straight? Because that was a bit of a side,
Always ask the question back to them in the sense that you kind of looking back to them and say in the sense like, I would like to ask God the same question, but then I'd be afraid of being asked by God what I feel about all these people that have happened. Because unless it's really good, emotional kind of switch that. And then there's the last one, which is basically the fact that darkness is only there when light is not available. So basically the idea that the fact that people are not believing in God is the reason why these things are happening, not because God's allowing.
Okay, very good, mashallah. So, Brother Noah has given a couple of answers there. And mashallah, sister, like the gist of what these arguments are coming towards is you want to say to the person, like very straightforwardly, like, a lot of people, they think of an ideal society. They think of an ideal world, but they're not able to explain it. So if you ask them, like, what would you want to happen? You would want everyone to be in peace. They'd be like, yes, everyone should be in peace. Then why do we have heaven and hell? Why is there heaven and hell? Why is there even death? Because no matter how in peace you want, whether a person dies from being shot in the head or dying of old age, they're both dying. That's bad, in your opinion. So in both cases, the person is actually dying. Right now, you're just mad because you believe someone is killing them. But in another case, they're still dying. So even if nobody killed that person, he died of old age, you're still going to blame God because you're going to say God killed him. That if God really loved him, He'd let him live forever. So the reality is that's what the afterlife is there for. It's there to sort this out. It's there to make justice. that God put this world as a test for us. If you kill, you will be responsible for it. You know what I mean? If people did murder millions of people, Allah will and God will make them responsible for it. But God needs to do this to test the people. So as Noor said, what have you done to stop this? You know, I would love to ask God, why did He kill these people? But I'd be scared that He'd ask me, why didn't I do something about it? Why didn't I write a letter? Why didn't I, spread peace among the people? Why didn't I do this? So it's very good, mashallah. And there's many, many arguments there, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And again, if you want more in depth, come to the workshop tomorrow, bi'idhnillah. Today, I don't want to get into the whole questions because I can answer these questions, but we're going to lose, the track of where we're going. So inshallah, so if anybody has questions, what I'd recommend inshallah is just write them down. If at the end we have time, we'll answer questions inshallah about anything, the hijab, whatever it may be. And if not, please come tomorrow because that's the more advanced. That's where we get into it. Just you had your hand up for a while. Go ahead inshallah.
She can even question about it because then it belongs to God. And this is like another, we can, I don't want to understand.
Yes, mashallah. 100%, alhamdulillah.
If you suppose that God exists, you are creation, and God is the creator. So how can you question God about His creation? Because the wisdom belongs to God.
Yes.
So
Exactly, mashallah. And that's one of the things we believe is that Allah is the most wise. So if God does something, who's wiser, me or you? Who's wiser, my school or Allah? Who's wiser, the society or Allah? Allah knows better than all of us here. We'll understand that. If you know how to run the world, then tell Him, please. But I can guarantee you that we believe Allah is more wise than you. I remember it was Tariq Swidani. He said that he went to a company and basically he went to see the president of this company. And so he went there and basically there was a security guard at the gate. So he said, I'm here to see such and such, the president. And the security guard, he told him, he's not here. So then he said, when is he going to come back? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, where did he go? I don't know. He's like, well, how can I get a hold of him? I have no idea. And then he says, he was getting kind of frustrated. And the security guard turned to him and he said, look, he says, he's the president of the company. I'm a security guard. He comes when he wants. He leaves what he wants. He does what he wants. I have no say in it. My job is to be here and to do the security. And Tariq Sudan said, subhanAllah, if only people could understand. Allah does what He wants. Allah can come and go without giving us an explanation. Sometimes we'll be like, we demand an explanation from Allah. Who are we to demand that explanation? We just need to understand that Allah is the most wise and Allah has everything in balance. And this is why we come up with this concept that the creation will never fully understand the Creator. Even if Allah were to tell you the deep wisdoms behind something, you'd be like, it just would not hit. We cannot understand everything. Our minds are not strong enough. I'm sorry. So the creation can never fully understand its Creator. Jazakallah khair, inshallah. So again, let's get back on topic, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I would love to answer all these questions honestly, but that's not my expertise. That's Brother Noor's expertise in what he does in his da'wah training, alhamdulillah. So everyone understands the basic thing of TNA. Tawheed, Nubuwa, Akhirah. That's model number 1. Model number 2, inshallah, that I'm going to go over is what we call the pillars of Iman. The pillars of belief. Okay? So now since we were kids going into Sunday school, we learned these things called pillars of Iman, Imani Mufassal. Right? Who can tell me them, inshallah? Who can tell me them? Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi wal yawm al-akhiri wal qadr khair wa sharrihi min Allah. So there's 6 items here that we believe in. And this is something that every Muslim here believes. These are called the articles of faith. We believe in these things. So what I'm going to do, inshallah, here is I'm going to make a brief presentation, if I can find the eraser. Alhamdulillah. On how to pitch da'wah based on the 6 pillars of Iman. Okay, alhamdulillah. So basically, this is a very, very beautiful structure of giving da'wah. This is actually, to be honest with you, this is my favorite one of all the three that I'm going to teach you, inshallah. I find that this is effective and this is straightforward. Okay, we're running out of time, so we're going to go a bit faster, mashallah. So you get a person, you tell them, listen, let me tell you a bit about Islam, give me 5 minutes. Clock starts. Okay, this is what a Muslim believes. And you tell me if you think this makes sense. A Muslim believes in Allah. He believes that there is one God that creates and sustains us. And Noor will go over, inshallah, how to talk to someone if they believe there's no God. How to actually explain it. Inshallah, if we have time, we're going to cover that as well. So the person says, yeah, you know what? I believe there is a God. Actually, you know, inshallah, so one of the techniques you use to prove so that there is a God for people that say no, is you tell them basically that the creation of the universe is one of the aspects you go on. Right? And there's this model called the infinite regression model. And this is basically how you convince someone that there is a God. This is one of the techniques. So what you tell a person is, okay, so you don't know if God exists or not. And the vast majority of people you're going to talk to tomorrow, they're going to say like, I'm Christian, but in reality, they're like, they're not like, let's say, really staunch Christians. They don't really believe, they don't really follow. They don't really know if Jesus is God, God is God. They kind of believe God exists, that's about it. They don't have much more than that. The majority of atheists and agnostics you're going to meet, they don't really know if God exists. An atheist is really just an agnostic in hiding. Okay, they just don't know if God exists or not. That's what agnosticism means. I'm not sure. So today you tell them a very basic argument because no one's ever presented this to them. You tell them, okay, the world was created. Can we agree on that? The world is here. Okay, yeah, the world is here. I agree. So the world came into existence. There's only 3 logical possibilities. There's only 3 possibilities in the entire world of how the world came into creation. What are these 3 possibilities? Someone tell me one. Yeah. The world came out of nothing. It just, appeared one day. It was whatever. Somehow it appeared out of nothing. Number 2, it created itself. It decided that, hey, you know what? I'm going to create me today. It created itself. And the third possibility is some being created it. These are the 3 possibilities. If you can come up with a fourth, alhamdulillah, it's not possible, by the way. There's no fourth. So these are the 3 possibilities. So now you go very basically, okay. Now we said that it created out of nothing. Can nothing create something? Can something come out of nothing? Can something come out of nothing? If I have nothing in my hand, I give it to you. Can you make it into a cookie and eat it? No, it's not possible. Okay, so the world could not have come out of nothing. It's just not possible. Okay, that makes sense. Let me hear. Yeah, that makes sense. Does it make sense now that the world could have created itself? Now, a good example that people give on this is, can you give birth to yourself? No. It's like, why not? What if I try really hard? It's like, no. It's like, what about, okay, khalas, I'm a man. What if I was a woman? No. You can't give birth to yourself. So the world, can it actually create itself? Could it do that? Is that a function of the world? It doesn't really make sense. So again, people that are more into knowledge aspects, go to Noor's workshop tomorrow. He'll give you more in-depth stuff, inshallah. Number 3. So then what is it? Something created this world. Okay, I agree it's something. You don't even need to call it God. We just agree something created it. Now that's something that created this world. It has to be very powerful. Must be super powerful. It must be outside of this world. Because inside the world wouldn't make sense. Right? So we give these qualities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to God. What is this? And now you basically go over this concept of infinite regression. And this is basically a way of explaining that God exists or that something exists. Because the basic question, if someone's very smart, and this is where a lot of people lost their religion, is they agreed that something created this earth. Something created this earth. But then the next logical question, does anyone know what the next logical question is? Who created that thing? Who created that thing that created the earth? Very good question. And a better question is, who created that thing that created the thing that created the earth? And even better question is, who created the thing that created the thing that created the thing that created the earth? And a better question, much better, is who created the thing that created the thing that created the thing that created the thing that created the earth? And you're like, Noor's workshop. Like, you're like, I need to go somewhere. What do I do? And basically, what we use to explain this, one of the theories that are on this that are just easy explanation, is something called the infinite regression. The infinite regression. What is the infinite regression? It's something very basic. If I was to give you something in an infinite amount of time, infinite amount of time means there's no start, there's no end. Would you ever get it? If I tell you, you've been a good guy, I'm going to give you a water bottle in infinity amount of time. You're going to wait for your life because infinity has no start, no end. Infinity is not a point. It doesn't have a start or an end. Right? So similarly, you ask another question. You say, khalas, okay, you know what? I will basically slap you. I'm going to slap you. But I'm not going to slap you. Don't worry. I'm not going to slap you until I ask permission from Adil because he's on top of me. So Adil, I'm going to ask you permission to slap him. And then Adil will tell me, no, hold on. I have to ask permission from Amir. And Amir's like, okay, well, I have to ask permission from Basil. And it goes on, and Basil has to ask until an infinite amount, infinite, no number. Will you ever get slapped? No, if it's infinity, if it's finite, then by the end of the sister over there, she will be like, slap him. And bam, you get slapped, right? If it's infinity, it will never have a start or an end. And so we basically have to come to a logical conclusion, is that the reality is, you exist. You exist. It means something had to have created you. It's as if I've been slapped. It means that there had to have been someone that said slap him. There had to have been someone that started it. There had to be what they call a first mover, a point A. Because if not, how would we be here today? If there is no point A, nobody would ever be created. If to be created, you had to ask my permission, and I had to ask Adil, and he had to create me, but he had to be created, but he had to be created, but he had to be created. There has to be one object or one being that was the first creator that nobody created. And part of the definitions and characteristics of this thing, not only does it have to be super powerful, but it cannot be in time. Because if it's in time, everything in time has a start and an end. Does God have a start and an end? No. So we answer that question by saying God. That's our simple answer to that. That's what we call it. You want to call it the Easter Bunny? Call it the Easter Bunny. At this point in da'wah, it's just about saying that there is a creator that is one. An alpha prime, whatever they want to call it. Call it A prime. Some math student comes up there. Alhamdulillah, good. We're going to explain later, inshallah, how to get that there, bi'idhnillah. Sorry? Yes, inshallah. Okay, so after the workshop we can talk about this one, inshallah. I want to just move forward with the basic one because we're on number 1 here, inshallah. After the workshop or tomorrow, inshallah, his workshop will cover it, I promise, inshallah. So the person says, you know what? It makes sense that God or something created us. Check. Okay, the next thing we believe in is that God has angels. What does that mean? What does it mean that God has angels? There are certain things that, you know, if you're a president of a company, would you go and basically do everything as well? Would you order every single person to do a job? Would you go and mop the floors? Would you go and do this? Or would you get people under you to do this work? Why? Because it shows you're more of a boss. It shows you're more of a president. It magnifies your amazing abilities. Would you not do that? Yeah, it's true. Allah uses the angels to go and talk to the messengers because God stays out of the realm. Allah uses the angels to go and deliver messages, to make it rain, to make the world rotate properly, to control everything, to control the trees and the plants. Allah makes the angels do it. Allah can do it for sure. But out of His majesty, He gets people to do it. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it would make sense. You know, I wouldn't want to be doing all of it. I would get people to do it. It shows how great I am that I don't even need to be doing it. I'm in control. Makes sense. Number 3, books. Now, if God wanted you to find Him, if the Easter Bunny wanted you to find Him, shouldn't He leave you some sort of a manual? Some sort of a way to find Him? Because every single religion says we have the truth. Every single religion says we believe in one, or a lot of religions say we believe in one God. What differentiates them? It has to be a good book. It has to be a good book. It has to be pure. And you tell them the Quran. You know, we believe in all the other books, but the Quran is the only book ever that has never been changed. And even if you go to museums in Rome, and I believe Turkey, you'll find Qur'ans from 1400 years ago. And they're the same, both of these museums. And they're the same exact as today. They're the same exact as today, word for word. There's no 79th edition of the King James, second removed version. And everybody's basing off a translation of a book that was written 250 years after Jesus Christ passed away, 270, 370. SubhanAllah, this is what's going on here. So our book is the only one that's proven. And they'll be like, really? I'll be like, yeah. In fact, in the Quran itself, it says, it lays a challenge to anybody. If you think this book is false, if you think it is false, then make one surah like it. Make just one surah. The shortest surah is 3 verses, 27 letters. And then it says, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. And if you cannot, and know that you will never, it's not possible, فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي. Then fear the fire, whose fuel is men and stone prepared for the disbelievers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us very directly, if you really think this book is so fake, read it, find a mistake in it, I challenge you. And this is the beauty of Islam, is that when you come back to the Quran is my best da'wah tool. Because for me, I'm like, look, you have a book, I have a book. Your book's been changed, mine's not. No, yours has been changed, it's been proven, it's in the museum. There's nothing wrong with it, it goes hand in hand with science. No one's ever been able to find an error in this book for 1400 years. Really? Yeah, read it. Prove it to yourself. You come back, you find an error, khalas, we'll both leave the religion. You know what I mean? Now don't actually leave the religion, because obviously if they find an error, it's impossible. Any error will be just a misunderstanding. But you understand the Quran is perfect. It has scientific miracles. And one of the books you're going to read, inshallah, is the Brief Illustrated Guide in Understanding Islam. It's a little small book like this. It shows the scientific miracles that the Quran has predicted the future. The Quran has come up with miracles in science that have only been discovered 100 years ago, 50 years ago, like these kind of things, using technology that the Prophet couldn't have had, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a miracle. It is the biggest miracle of the prophethood. So basically that's books. So you basically mention the gist of books. Then next you say, so the guy says it makes sense. God would send me a manual, right? If you get something, you need to know how to use it, you're given a manual. This is how you do it, this is not how you do it. If you put your cell phone in fire, it's not going to work. If you keep banging it against the wall, it's not going to work. If it's not set up to the right network, it's not going to work. You have a manual. Very logical. Everything in this world is given like that. You join a new company, they give you a manual. Read this. This is the important things. You get a computer, you get a manual. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He creates a human being, He gives them a manual, a guide. Make sense? Yeah, I like this book concept. Okay, perfect. So we like the book, we have a perfect book. Oh wow, the other manuals suck. They have defaults in them. You do something in the manual, the phone doesn't work. Is that a good manual? No. Should you use a better one? Yeah, I should use the right manual. Next, messengers. Now, if what happens, you're reading a book, you're reading a manual, right? You come across to who's ever actually read a manual for their cell phone, just by show of hands? There's a reason why, because it's super confusing. You read it, it's like, the small little key in the right side goes into the circular position backwards for this, that, against this with 45-degree turn. You're like, what is this? So what do you do if you can't read the manual? Something's wrong with your phone, you look at the manual, you can't read it. What do? You call customer service. You call the bloody phone company, you're like, I don't know what's going on. You can't use your phone, use another phone. I need someone to help me, explain to me how this works. How to make my phone work. Allah sent messengers to show us how to understand this book. Because if we just tried to read it ourselves, man, we'd have bad religions. Look at how the Muslims are reading it today. They're killing people saying it's in the book. No. Bad customer service. They did not call customer service. Alright? So this is what the prophets came to teach us. Did you know Jesus was a prophet? Musa was a prophet. Did you know that Jesus was mentioned 25 times in the Quran and Muhammad only 4 by name? We honor him. He's part of the Ulul Azm, the 5 greatest prophets in our book. But you know what? Our book says he didn't claim he was a God. The guy says, oh no, but in our book he claimed he was God. It's like, really? Where? Did you know the Bible's been changed? How could you trust something that's been changed? If I gave you a cup of water and I put a drop of urine in it, would you drink it? Or would you throw the whole water cup out? I'd throw the whole water cup out. Well, there are millions of mistakes in the Bibles, hundreds and thousands of them, yet you're still using it. Why would you be using that when it comes to religion, when it comes to God? Is not Trinity the most confusing concept you're ever going to come across? 3 in 1, 1 in 3, which one is it? Is it 3 in 1? Is it 1 in 3? Is the eggshells, but how can the eggshells coexist at the same time? But there's always a dominant factor. Nobody will ever be able to explain it. They'll even admit it. They'll say, it's not meant to be fully explained. It's meant to be a little bit ambiguous. But didn't God say in the Bible that He's not the author of confusion? God says that in the Bible. So you're telling me Trinity is confusing and God says I'm not the author of confusion. So who made this? Who made this? And if anything is supposed to be clear in a religion, it should be God. One thing every religion should be clear about, whether it's 1 or 3. Be clear. Be consistent. And so basically these messengers come and they show you things. So a classic Christian example would be, the person will tell you, what's the number 1 question you're going to hear from the Christian? First question he's going to ask you. When you're explaining that Jesus was a prophet of God, what's the first thing he's going to say? Sorry? Further, I'm saying debate-wise, what's the first thing that's going to come after? Very good, died for our sins, whatever. He's going to say, you ask him a basic question, why is Jesus the Son of God? You tell me, forget about the Bible, why do you think He's the Son of God? One of the answers you're going to get is, He's the Son of God because He had a miraculous birth. The Virgin Mary gave birth to Him. You say, well, you know what? In your own book, in our book, there's a prophet called Adam a.s. He didn't have a father and a mother. If Jesus was the son, shouldn't He be like the super son? Like the ultimate son? They'll be like, it's interesting. Adam didn't have a mother or a father. Jesus had a mother. Yeah, it's interesting. No, but the difference is, Jesus, He came and He did miracles. He brought people back from life. Wait, in your book, all the prophets do miracles. Musa a.s. split the sea. Did Jesus split the sea? No. But Musa's not a son of God, is he? No, he's not. So they get confused because they're passing off Jesus for the wrong reasons as a son of God. There have been so many prophets that have done amazing things before. Why were none of them the Son of God? Why did God wait so long? So then they come to the classic one. Because Jesus died for our sins. No other person died for our sins. Wait a minute. John the Baptist got murdered. He was preaching to the people. He died too. So if Jesus died and John died, why are we saying Jesus is the Son and John is not the Son? It doesn't make sense. And then you basically use your logic to try and explain. And if it goes further, inshallah, you come tomorrow, you attend Noor's workshop. And it will go further, inshallah. But what I want everyone to be able to do is not to get in debates. Again, basic discussions. If someone tells you something you don't know the answer, don't make up an answer. Tell them, I can get you the answer. Give me your email, we'll discuss this. Be very friendly. It's not about, like I said, you have to convert today. It's about starting a dialogue. Everyone's good with this, inshallah? Okay? Akhirah. This is, again, we talked about this already. I'm not going to talk about it again. The day of judgment, justice, right and wrong. And the last thing is destiny. And so basically for destiny, it's just to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows the past, the present, the future. He knows what's going to happen. Does that make sense? That God knows everything. Yeah, God is all knowledgeable. He knows what's going to happen. Bam. If you believe in all of this, and again, every stage of the way I ask the person, does this make sense? Most people are going to say, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And be like, bro, there is no other religion in the entire world that has a setup like this except for Islam. Right? And then honestly, why are you not Muslim? You know, if you agree to all this, you're almost a Muslim, man. You know what you're missing? You're missing just to learn what it is to be a Muslim. And then you say, you know, that's it, let's get the Shahada down. You bring it up. This is what it is to be a Muslim. If you believe all of this, all you got to do is say this and you're a Muslim. You're in the right step. And they'll be like, okay, I want to learn more. No problem. Let's talk. We have all day. Let's bring a friend in. Let's answer all your questions. Don't rush. We don't need you to rush into it. But the moment you really believe all this, the moment this sinks in, you have the truth in front of you. So take it. And it doesn't matter if they take it that day, brothers and sisters, or in 30 years. You've done your job. So that's number 2, inshallah. For the third style of actual da'wah, of how to pitch it, inshallah, because of time, you're going to have to attend Noor's workshop for the third one, mashallah. And that actually is, Noor's specialty is the third type of da'wah, the third way of pitching it. Right, Noor? I call it going for gold, mashallah. Okay, inshallah, in the last 15 to 20 minutes, I'm just going to, inshallah, go over some basic stuff in terms of how to speak to people. So, the first thing, I'm going to cover 2 aspects, inshallah, actually 3 aspects, and then we're going to close off for tonight. The first one is debating techniques. Everyone asks, right? I used to do debating since I was a child, mashallah, and it started before school. But, you know, this is something that, mashallah, you learn over time. How do you debate with someone? The first lesson I'll teach all of you right here is if you come for the workshops, if you come, on the IAWs, and you're there to debate. If you're there to debate, you've already lost. If you're there to debate with someone, you've already lost. Because da'wah is never about fighting. So why am I teaching you these techniques? So you can understand how to just control the conversation. You can understand what they're coming up with. Okay, inshallah, and I'll mention a couple of them. So number 1 is to be the driver. In any conversation, you have a driver and a passenger. Okay? Be the driver when people are talking to you. Somebody will ask you a question, then halfway through the question, they'll ask you another question. Then halfway through that answer, they'll ask you a third question. Then next thing you know, you're talking about soap operas. And you're like, how did this happen? Because you were driven. You need to be the driver in a conversation. Someone asks you a question, you know where to take it. Back to the basics. Right? Back to what Islam is. Now you answer the question. Now you'll discuss it. If they ask you and they start cutting you up and interrupting, take control. Ask them very politely, you know, can I please finish the question so I can get to the next one? Alright, you asked me to answer, could you let me finish please? And remember, someone is there to debate you. Understand that person is not seeking the truth. He's not seeking the truth. And that's inshallah the second point, is that if somebody comes and they're there to fight, they're there just for argumentations, know how to not waste your time. Literally, when people do that, it happens all the time to me. There was a person that came back in the day at Vanier, and he was an Armenian brother. And he basically came with the Quran in Armenian. And he was like, your Quran is wrong, this, that. And there's a huge history because he believes the Muslims killed him, his people and stuff like that. And right away the guy was like, your Quran is wrong, it's false, it's fake. And so right away I saw this guy was arguing, he was here to fight. Not worth my time. I said, oh, you know, wow, it's fake. Oh, I didn't know that. You know what? There's this brother over here. I felt like being a bit mean to him. So I'm like, there's this brother over here. And it was one of my friends by the name of Fariduddin. He's an expert in history and the different societies and stuff like that. I was like, I'll tell him about this. Farida, this guy here, he's saying the Quran has changed. And he's Armenian. And I walk away. Literally, the guy is there turning red because Farid is not getting emotional. He's talking logically. He's like, actually, historically speaking, the Muslims didn't kill them. They actually invaded this, that. And in this area over here. And the guy is just like flipping out. He's like, why did I come here today? Right? So again, I'm not there to talk history. I'm here to talk about Islam. So you have to understand that when people are coming to just fight with you, understand how to pass them away or pass them off. Oh sure, no problem. Well, you know what? You believe the Quran is fake. I believe it's not fake. Why don't you read it? Take a look at it. If you have any question, here's my email. Send me an email. That kind of thing. Get the person out of there. It was nice to see you that day. Give them a good thing. Number three, basically the third technique is build a house. Why am I saying build a house? A lot of times people come in and they just start attacking somebody's beliefs. Understand that your beliefs are like your house. It's something that's very dear to you. Imagine you go and smash someone's house down. You just break it down totally. And you'll be like, now believe in Islam. And that's what people do. They'll come and they'll say, oh, you're Hindu? Well, Hinduism, let me get started. You pull out some Zakir Naik video, you start quoting verses and stuff like that. And the guy at the end of it is like crying, right? And he's like broken down and he's like, everything you believed in is a lie. And the guy's like broken there. And this, subhanAllah, and then you're like, want to be Muslim? And he's like, I don't ever talk to you again. Like, I hate you. So sometimes it is good to teach people. But what you need to do first, before breaking them down, is build them a house which is more beautiful than theirs. Show them what Islam is really about. Show them how Islam is superior. This is what Islam is. So as their house is there, you're showing them, look how ugly your house is. Look how weak this is. Why don't you come and live in this house? So always give them something better to go to. There's a story of the brothers in the past at Vani. What happened is there's this guy that was Sikh. And they were working on him for so long for da'wah. They were going back and forth with this guy for months and months and months. He was a close friend with them. And they were destroying the religion. Left and right, left and right, left and right. One day, the guy broke. They saw it. They knew they were getting to him. And bam, they destroyed his whole religion. The next day, he didn't show up to the MSA like he usually did. None of them talked to him. They're all looking for this guy. Weeks go by. Nobody knows where this guy is. They finally find him. You know where he was? He became Christian. Why? Because they just broke down his beliefs and left him with Muslims are so aggressive, so this, that they didn't even want what they had to offer. They never built him a beautiful house, which was Islam. They never showed him how perfect the religion is. Because remember that what we're offering to the people is something better for them. Is something even better for them. So always, inshallah, start by telling them about Islam and the perfect of Islam and the harmony of it. And subhanAllah, remember that the words you use, the emotions you bring to the table, that's what's more convincing than any debate, any argument. Allah alam. Remember we talked about if they yell and swear, if they speak to you in a bad way, as the Quran says, جَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Speak to them or debate with them in a way that is better. If they yell and swear, you calm down. Don't yell, don't swear. Be soft, be gentle. Remember what you're doing here. Another technique is confidence. When someone has confidence, they can do anything they want. So for example, if someone says something like, oh yeah, no, 3 gods is the biggest thing. Sometimes if you just look at someone, you don't even use all these crazy debate techniques. You just look at them, you'll be like, that's so dumb. They themselves will be like, yeah, it kind of sounds dumb. He's got a point. And subhanAllah, you didn't even do anything. You were just really confident with them. That doesn't make any sense. The guy's like, doesn't make sense. He starts confusing himself, right? Confidence is key. And remember, you're being confident. Why? Not for a fake reason. You have the truth. Why not be confident? You know Islam is the right religion. Be confident. That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? So Jesus died on the cross? So God died? And I remember I debated a Christian person and subhanAllah, they were talking about Jesus being a human being and God. So I told them that doesn't make sense in the first place because someone can't be half God, half human. It doesn't make any sense. It's like saying I'm half fire, I'm half water. Something's gonna happen there. Right? So they say Jesus, he was the Son of God. So I asked him a question. I said, listen, so did Jesus die on the cross or did he survive? He said, no, he died on the cross. He died on the cross. So I said, wait, and Jesus is God? Yeah. So God died. I just said that to the person. She froze. And she's like, yeah, God died. I'm like, hold on. God, the creator of the universe, the one keeping everything in control, the most wise, the most powerful, died. She's like, oh, only for a few minutes. Only for a few minutes. Then he came back to life. I'm like, okay, for a few minutes, God was dead. And I'm like, that's what you believe? And she's like, I'm not a scholar. I don't really, I have to talk to my priest and figure this out again. And I'm like, you best. SubhanAllah, but you can see there's so much weaknesses, so much contradiction, so much confusion that a person, if you just come with confidence, you'll see through it. Allah alam. If you don't know, tell them that you'll research it. I remember one of the most beautiful examples that I ever heard was a person, subhanAllah, was in a class and people were bombarding them about Islam and they didn't know how to answer. And so subhanAllah, even without having the knowledge, what they did is they turned to the class and they said, I don't have the answer to this question. but I know Islam has an answer to it. And they said, I'll find it for you. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Don't claim you're going to know everything. There's going to be an argument that comes that's going to stump you. It'll happen in life. It'll happen some point in your life when you're talking about Islam. But if you always have that mentality that I can find out because Islam is perfect, you will find an answer. And mashallah, that's the kind of attitude da'is need to have. And that's why I told you, the most important thing for us as basic level da'is, basic level callers to the religion, you smile. You get their name. What's your name? My name. Perfect. You get their contact. You know what? That's a great question. Can you give me your email? I would love to have this discussion later on. And you leave them with a smile on their face. That's why we have cotton candy machines. It's not just to bring them in so people get in a circle and, they're like, cotton candy, haha, you're trapped. Close the doors kind of thing. Like, it's not what we do. We bring them in so that they have a good experience. And subhanAllah, the best IAWs and the best thing you can do for non-Muslims is show them by example. And this is the prophetic way. So inshallah, I'm going to move on because my time is running out. And I'll drop basically into the last portion of my workshop, which is basically to tell you guys, inshallah, what the most important things to do on your IAW, when you're giving da'wah. So like I said, number one is understand how da'wah is supposed to be. Never in your lives forget what we discussed at the workshop today, which is that da'wah is for the people that are close to you. And that you need to actually have a love and care for people to give them da'wah. Everyone's good with this? Point number two is that when you do give da'wah, understand that you're being a representative for Islam. So if you're a representative for Islam, you're literally following the footsteps of the most best creation ever, the Prophet ﷺ. So if you're in that position, be proper, inshallah. Don't dress up like a bum that day. Honestly, alhamdulillah, the sisters dress their part, mashallah, but brothers, come on. The ripped jeans and stuff like that, and the guy looks like he just woke up, his hair's all messed. SubhanAllah, you're representing the best. Dress up, fix your hair, get gel, it's not expensive, Fix yourself up, mashallah, come looking good. Brush your teeth, wear cologne. Honestly, I know this is very basic, but subhanAllah, this is what the brothers need to do, inshallah, is be that person that people come and they're like, that guy's a really he's really proper, he's really professional. Imagine if all our da'is showed up in suits and ties. They'd be like, these people, they have confidence, right by the way they dress. MashaAllah, now I know the MSC has t-shirts, so t-shirts also are professional, right guys? So inshallah, dress the part, inshallah, and look the part. If you talk to a guy, a smile can go a long way. SubhanAllah, a smile can do so much in terms of the person's perception of Islam. Unfortunately, we have today a lot of Muslims that have big long thalbs, big long beards, and they're always in the buses and metros, and every time someone sees them, they're like this. What do you think about Islam? This is what their example of Islam is, right? SubhanAllah, and then, they see a little hijabi girl that's hiding in the corner beside him, and they're like, that poor girl, that daughter or wife of his, They think this is a horrible situation. Smile, be happy to see people. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. This is what he taught us. Smiling is sunnah, right? Smiling makes you feel better. Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah, smile. This is very, very important. Number three, remember the basic etiquette, that what your job is to plant a seed. You give them the basic information about Islam. That's your job. If that seed grows, alhamdulillah, it grows. If it doesn't, at least you've done your job. Plant a seed when you give da'wah. Give them the basics, let them go on their way. Don't always be like, shahada, shahada, convert now. Okay? Number four, make sure to get the basic information from them. Their name and a contact information email. At the end of this IAW, what we want as the MSA is to be able for you all to give in your email addresses so that the people that are more experts can actually go and follow up with them. Hey, you remember you stopped by this place, you met Sister Fatima? Well, she gave me your email address, she asked a very good question. Would you be willing to, sit down and have a coffee? And subhanAllah, you by doing that action, by getting that email, could be responsible for converting someone, for bringing them to the deen. So mashallah, this is the basic advice I would give to the brothers and sisters. And inshallah, we'll end off with there. I'll open the floor up, inshallah, if there's any basic question or comments. But what I have to say, inshallah, is if any of you are interested in really taking it to the next level, what you need to do, inshallah, is come tomorrow. Come tomorrow for the workshop, 12 p.m. It's only 5 hours, mashallah, it's is it free? That's really good. A free workshop tomorrow. They'll teach you really the tools to be a da'i, how to get involved in conversations, how to, look good, mashallah. So again, we'll open the floor for 2 questions and then we'll do announcements. Yes, inshallah. Sister in the back? Yeah, fadal. Okay, go ahead. Inshallah, guys, if we can just respect, inshallah, it's just going to be 5 more minutes. Jazakallah khair. Yes, go ahead, sister. Barakallah fiqh. Jazakallah khair, sister. So she mentioned, mashallah, that we should all remember who we're trying to be like, who we're emulating, right? And so, like, the Christians, they have this thing, what would Jesus do, right? So we think always, what would the Prophet ﷺ do? And the cross is, by the way, one of the funniest chains that people have. It's like, what religion or what person would celebrate the person dying? Like, it's like, my mother, she died, like, someone cut her head off, so I wear this necklace with her head cut off on it. And subhanAllah, it doesn't make any sense. But they do that to honor Jesus. They wear something where he's being sacrificed, crucified, and killed. And that's to honor the religion. It doesn't really work for us. Okay, mashallah. And the sister beside her, inshallah, you can get the last question for tonight. Okay, mashallah, jazakallah khair, sister. It's a very good question. When a Muslim will tell somebody, another Muslim, for example, oh bro, let's go pray salah, you have to pray. And the guy's like, I don't want to pray. He's like, well, you have to. And he's like, bro, don't judge me. And it's like, it's a very, very, very common question when somebody says, don't judge me, right? And remember, inshallah, that on our side, just for our own personal benefit, we remember a couple things. One is that we hate the sin, we don't hate the person. We hate the sin, we don't hate the sinner. So a person does something bad, I don't like that thing you did. That doesn't mean I don't love you for the sake of Allah. And that's a big difference, is that when you show somebody you love them, a lot of times you'll see that they'll be very soft with you. You establish that relationship. You give them gifts, you make them feel comfortable with you, and then inshallah when you advise them, you'll see that they'll be much more receptive. Having said that, there is still situations where you'll give advice to somebody and the person will say like, why are you judging me? Don't judge me. And what I would suggest, sister, if you're in a situation like that, change your approach up because it's not working. Like telling them it's wrong, it's haram, it's not working. So for example, one of the ways you can change your approach up is instead of yourself telling the sister, maybe you can find someone that when they say it to her, she'll listen more. Someone maybe that is closer to her, inshallah, if she has someone like that. Another way you can change them, inshallah, is by changing their environment. If somebody is always in the masjid and then they see everybody praying, they naturally will start praying, inshallah. But if they're always, at clubs and everything, no matter how many people tell them to pray in the mosque, it's not going to work. So maybe, inshallah, bring them to these halaqas that Concordia has, try and get them to have good friends, inshallah. I know it's difficult. You can't force someone, this is your new friend, go love them. But, inshallah, try and be smart about this and, make a dua for them is the best thing. A lot of times people, they give advice to someone, but they don't really care about them. When's the last time you made dua for that person you advised? You tell someone, you should do this with yourself. How much should I pray for this person? So inshallah, we make dua for the people that Allah increases all of our levels. And inshallah, we will end off with that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the people that can really portray the message of the Prophet ﷺ the best. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts and make it so that our hearts love the people in the way that they deserve to be loved. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite us all in Jannat al-Firdaus, inshallah, so we can meet again. Jazakumullah khairan. Please, inshallah, give the right to the announcements, and then everyone can head out.
Assalamu alaikum. So I just wanted to say Jazakallah khair to the speaker. That was a very, very informative and very, condensed workshop that you did in an hour and a half, which is very impressive. So just now we have 3 announcements. So after that, I can let you guys leave. The first announcement is that we're going to have IAW the whole next week from Monday to Thursday. So basically, IAW is literally the biggest event that MSA Concordia will be hosting. We spend a lot of hours preparing. We have 20 volunteers, or lots of volunteers. We're pouring most of our budgets into this special event, just not for the only non-Muslims, also for the Muslims. And the schedule for the IAW is from Monday and Tuesday from 6 to 9. We're gonna have a Dawah booth in the MSA, not in MSA library, in the Concordia library, the one in downtown, the one that's just right here. 10 to 6, okay, my bad, it's 10 to 6, not from 9 to 6. It's 10 to 6 on Monday and Tuesday. And on Wednesday and Thursday, it's gonna be in the 7th floor of the hall building, basically right next to the Musalla. And we're gonna have 2 speakers on Wednesday and 2 speakers on Thursday, and the speakers will be converts. So there'll be telling us what their experiences are, how they converted to Islam, what background did they have, how did they have the mental, I guess, logical explanations that they did to their head, and they'll basically try to explain this to the audience. So if you guys can't make it on Monday and Tuesday or whatever the days is, pick one of the days and try to, support us as much as you can, because we're really trying to make this event very, very successful, because it is the biggest event of the year. And inshallah, we do have sign-up sheets. So if you guys do want to volunteer and you guys are kind of shy of maybe giving dawah, or you guys can't really be there for the whole time, we actually trying to get it organized. And we have, in the end of our announcements, we're going to have sign-up sheets for the brothers and also for the sisters. So inshallah, we'll contact you if you give us your email contact number. We'll contact you and we'll say whenever you can come in, what can you do to help us. And inshallah, we'll get that organized. And for the second announcement will be the dawah training, and I will give the speaker the microphone to Noor just for him to explain what his training will be more about.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I know you guys had a long, long night. Everyone's falling asleep already, so it's all good. It's all good. So inshallah, I just want to make a very quick announcement. Inshallah, it's not going to be too long, inshallah. Just to give you guys a little idea of what you guys are coming in for tomorrow, inshallah. So number one, exactly what you guys heard about Omar. Like, there's going to be a lot of things that you guys are going to hear again, let's say. But a lot of the class is really going to focus on more advanced techniques, let's say, for a da'i, for example. How to answer specific questions, how to go on about, like, for example, explaining the idea that, you can't see God. How can you still believe in Him? Something like that. But on top of that, I have prepared myself some extra sessions just based on, like, da'wah, for example, just to even Muslims. Why people are who they are. Why do they do the things that they do? Why can't they change? What are habits that they can't break, and so on and so forth. And different ways to tackle those specific things. Because sometimes it doesn't, you can do all you can with your words, but if there are certain things that are not, there, let's say in the equation, then the person won't change, and that's the reality. So this is something that inshallah, if you come in for tomorrow, you guys are going to benefit a lot from. You guys are going to learn a lot from that, and you guys are going to become, inshallah, by the end of that, expert da'is, inshallah, that, when you guys come to IW, you guys are well-rounded in all, sorts of ways that you guys can, take care of any type of, let's say, obstacle, inshallah. So come in tomorrow, inshallah, I think from 12 till, inshallah, 4 o'clock, and there's going to be some extra sessions, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. It's going to be in the same room, by the way, H435.
So I guess just one last announcement, and this will be the announcement for the Burma dinner on Saturday the 23rd, and I'll give it to Abdul Latif, the organizer for the dinner.
Sister Haneen is the organizer. I want still also the best but not least. I won't take your time, not the best because of me, but because of the event. Support IW next week. It's really the biggest event of the year. But I would say this one is extremely important. Why? Do any of you guys know what is Burma or where is Burma? Where is Burma? So, alhamdulillah, it's a country right next to Bangladesh, and the situation that is going on over there is really critical. Muslims in Burma, Muslims in Burma are killed and slaughtered on a regular basis for no other reasons other than being Muslims. And right now, alhamdulillah, we were able in Montreal to help brothers and sisters in Syria, to do a couple events for brothers and sisters in Afghanistan and Palestine. And, alhamdulillah, we've been able to help what the Muslim Ummah is focused on most of the time. However, this time in Burma, none of us hear about it. And at first I wasn't so sure, but now I can really say it with conviction. What is going on in Burma with our brothers and sisters is worse than what's going on in Palestine or in Syria. It is worse than what's going on over there. So it's been going on now for decades. And if I just can give you a bare example of one of the things that happened, the soldiers and the police over there and some non-Muslims over there, they put some machetes on the ground and they threw toddlers from 1 to 4 years old on the machetes because they were Muslims. So kids are being, slaughtered. Our Muslim brothers are being slaughtered. Our sisters are being raped. And when they want to flee to neighboring countries, they're being rejected. And so far, none of us did anything for them. Alhamdulillah, now in Montreal, we have an opportunity to help them. We have an opportunity to do something. And Saturday, not tomorrow, but the week after, March 23rd, inshallah, here at MSA Concordia on the 7th floor, we'll have an awareness dinner. It's really a fundraising dinner, but I don't want to scare you. We won't ask for your money once there. So it's basically a $20 ticket, and you can come here, enjoy the meal, cooked by brothers and sisters and, the direction of Sister Sabria. Enjoy the meal and get informed. We'll have a brother who's an eyewitness. He's a Burmese Muslim. His parents were killed and he lived the persecution, and he's going to share with us exactly what's going on. So it's an awareness dinner. Come and get informed. It's really important to know what's going on because the press is forbidden in this country. So this is why we never heard about it, basically. So come and get informed, and so you can, raise awareness about it, inshallah. And, every single dollar given, inshallah, will be given to HCI International. You can buy tickets right after this halaqah to Brother Mazin and to Sister Haneen. You can raise your hand, inshallah. She's over there. So, Jazakumullah khairan. Sorry to take more of your time. I'll let Bariki finish.
As promised, that was the last of the announcements. Jazakallah khair for coming, and inshallah, we'll see you next time. For those who are wondering, the seats over here for the brothers and for the sisters going to be in the back. Inshallah.